a German Shepherd became a real mother for two abandoned lion cubs, who were abandoned by their own lioness mother. However, a few years later, something shocking happened. In a small wildlife sanctuary called White Lion, there had been a lioness named Kiara for a year. On September 18th, a wonderful event happened. Kiara gave birth to two beautiful lion cubs of opposite sexes. However, this was the first birth of a lioness. In addition, Kiara ended up in the reserve after she herself almost died in the wild at the hands of poachers. Because of this, Kiara was very self-conscious, distrustful, and unsure of herself. All this led to the fact that after the birth of two lion cubs, the lioness's maternal instinct never appeared, and she abandoned her own cubs. For 3 days, the reserve staff waited impatiently for Kiara to finally develop a maternal instinct and begin to feed her babies, but it was all in vain. On the 4th day, veterinarians took the little lion cubs from the mother lioness. They were a brother and sister who were extremely malnourished due to the fact that Kiara had never fed them. The reserve staff were even afraid that the cubs might not survive, but fortunately, the veterinarians managed to feed them a nutritious milk formula from a bottle. And after a week, they began to look much better, and their lives were no longer in danger. However, the staff understood perfectly well that nutritious milk formula alone would not be enough for the lion cubs. Without a mother and her mother's milk, animals will grow up weak and thin, not at all like the graceful African predators, and their health will be very poor. Fortunately, a family from a neighboring city agreed to transfer their 8-year-old German Shepherd named Laura to the reserve for raising lion cubs. The dog had just recently given birth to puppies, and her chest was full of nutritious milk. Veterinarians knew very well that dog milk is excellent for many species of animals, including lion cubs, since it contains all the necessary components for the normal development of cubs. Of course, when Laura entered the enclosure with the little lion cubs for the first time, the entire staff of the reserve froze in silent tension. Fortunately, the dog accepted both cubs, and within a few minutes they began to suck nutritious milk from her breast, which allowed all the staff of the reserve to breathe a sigh of relief. The veterinarians were very happy, because this is a unique case when a representative of one species adopts the cubs of another species, especially wild animals. The most surprising thing in this situation was that Laura, since childhood, could not tolerate cats and constantly barks at them. But in the case of the lion cubs, the amazing dog immediately felt that the cubs needed urgent help, and soon she became a real foster mother for them. Of course, the lion cubs required much more milk than regular puppies, but the veterinarians were not worried, since Laura was already giving birth to 8 puppies at a time, and she raised them all on her own. This time, the dog had only 1 puppy, and it was not difficult for her to feed it along with 2 lion cubs. When, after a few weeks, the lion cubs significantly increased in size and weight, the reserve staff only added a little milk formula to their diet, into bottles. The little lioness was weaker than her brother, and at first her health caused concern among veterinarians. But thanks to the help of the German Shepherd, she was able to recover and catch up with her brother in development. The lion cubs quickly began to grow and began to play happily among themselves under the constant supervision of Laura, who not only fed both cubs, but also carefully licked them with her tongue every day so that they would not get sick with fungus or other dangerous diseases. And at night, the dog warmed the adopted children with the warmth of its own body. Several weeks passed like this. The lion cubs have grown significantly and are even larger than their adoptive mother. Their sharp fangs and claws began to pose a danger to Laura, so the dog was taken back home, and the lion cubs were transferred to a new spacious enclosure, where they felt great and continued their development. The entire staff of the reserve was very grateful to Laura, who was able to save 2 abandoned, defenseless creatures. 2 years later, both lion cubs turned into beautiful, graceful lions and lionesses. Laura's owner, at the invitation of the director of the reserve, came there with his dog so that she could see how her adopted children had grown up. The German Shepherd looked at the harsh African predators for a few moments, and then suddenly ran into the enclosure. The reserve staff shuddered, as the reaction of the adult lions, who had not seen their foster mother for 2 years, was difficult to predict. The predators immediately headed towards the dog, and first sniffed the stranger. One of the employees was about to go into the enclosure and pull Laura out of there before the lions tore her to pieces, but the director of the reserve stopped him. The director realized that the lions recognized their foster mother, and within a few moments they began to rub their thick fur against her, and then lay down next to Laura, as if they again felt like small, defenseless puppies. The dog began to lick his much older foster children, also not forgetting about them at all. After 2 long years, what was happening touched the hearts of the reserve staff so much that many of them could not hold back their tears, and the dog's owner was very surprised. How strong can be the love between a mother and her children, even if they are completely different species? And so, after 2 long years, Laura, the German shepherd who had become a foster mother to 2 abandoned lion cubs, was reunited with her once helpless babies. The cubs, who had grown into majestic and powerful lions, immediately recognized Laura upon seeing her enter their enclosure. At first, there was tension in the air as the staff of the reserve held their breath, unsure how the predators would react. But within moments, the lions walked up to Laura, sniffed her, and then began to rub their thick, golden fur against her lovingly. It was as though they were transported back to the days when they were tiny, vulnerable cubs, completely dependent on her care. Laura, too, responded as if no time had passed. She began licking her now much larger foster children, showing the same tender affection she had when they were just cubs. Despite the significant time apart and the drastic changes in the cubs' size and strength, the bond between them had not faded. It was a powerful reminder that love, especially a mother's love, knows no boundaries, not even those of species. The scene was so touching that many of the reserve staff could not hold back their tears. Even Laura's owner was overwhelmed by the moment, marveling at the strength of the bond between the dog and the lions. It was a moment that highlighted the beauty and depth of interspecies relationships, showcasing how compassion and care can bridge even the widest gaps between creatures. This incredible story is a testament to the power of love, kindness, and empathy. Laura's unwavering devotion to the lion cubs and their enduring connection to her after all these years remind us of the impact a single act of kindness can have, not just on the lives saved, but on everyone who witnesses it. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, we encourage you to share it with your loved ones. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories about the incredible connections between animals and humans. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.